Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Tahir Dhindsa and you're watching TD Digital. A very massive campaign by the farmers across the border in India, in Haryana, Punjab, and even Himachal Pradesh. They have surrounded New Delhi and they're protesting against a bill which primarily is deemed as if that is going to take away all the wealth of these farmers and from Punjab and bring it to the kitties of companies that the analysts are calling the new East India companies. We have today with us an expert on that, and we are going to ask a question on him, how the situation is grave there and how that is comparable to across the border to the Pakistan, especially with regard to the future. Dr. Abid, very warm welcome. First of all, just for the benefit of our audience, just give 2-3 basic ingredients of this movement that has spurred the whole thing.
Tahir, first thing first, we need to understand that this is by far the largest movement in the recent history.
In India?
No, in the whole world.
In the whole world?
The protest that we have seen massively in last few decades, one was back in 2003 when United States invaded Iraq, and we had a massive protest. It contained around 10 to 15 million people. Then Black Lives Matter, the brutal killing of the African citizen in United States by US police. Again, massive campaign, massive protest, world over 25 to 30 million people. This particular protest, according to Indian press and according to international press, magazines like Economist, they are estimating that they contain around 150 to 250 million people, which means
huge, 15 crore.
Whole Pakistan.
About the size.
About the size of whole Pakistan, they are protesting, and this is of course one of the very disturbing facts. Now the question
for the government of India.
Yeah. So now the question arises that why these two, whatever the number you want to say, even if it's not 250, just take 20 million, 30
whatever,
million,
it's a large number.
It's a large number. So why? And we must keep in mind that months of October, November, December, Jan, these are the coldest months
in India,
in Delhi,
in
Indian Punjab and Haryana,
yes.
With the foggy conditions and temperature reaching to zero, yes. Feel like sub-zero on many days. So what has irked them? So in September, Indian government, the central government, they in a hurry, they passed 3 bills called the farming reform bills. And the crux of this bill was that through them, they actually altered the way of Indian agriculture system. So again, we need to keep in mind,
especially the market.
Yeah, again we need to keep in mind that in India we have all 3 sectors, the manufacturing, high-tech services and agriculture, all 3 they are intact and they are contributing towards Indian economy, and agriculture is by far the largest employment providing
generator, labor intensive
yes. Sector. So through these bills, first they said that farmers, they can sell their produce to anyone on whatever the rate is being offered. So, and Indian farmers, they are perceiving it that it is an end of era for minimum support price.
Yep.
The second, through second bill, they said that there would be no limit of holding, no limit of storing the agriculture produce, which in the past was forbidden under Anti-Hoarding Act. So now the companies or whoever can pay, who has their national identity card, can actually buy and bulk store whatever quantity the company or the individual that wants to deem. And the third important change that this one of the bills has brought is contract farming. So now companies or individuals, they can have advanced contracts, and they can, for example, purchase a standing crop, or they can purchase crop for 2 seasons, and they can pay.
Hold it then.
They can pay in advance. Now, theoretically speaking, these things, they look quite
normal,
glossy.
Yeah,
quite glossy. Yeah, you are actually modernizing
and a
medieval sector. You are offering them new markets. You are offering them liberty to sell, and whoever would like to buy can buy and then store. So in theory, it looks modernization of Indian agriculture sector. But then why farmers they are protesting? Because they feel that they would lose their negotiation power. Uh, right now, they have a minimum support price and assured guarantee price for at least two crops, which is wheat and rice. So they know that whatever their produce can't be bought below this minimum support price, and they have a very massive network of agriculture price management marketing committees, APMCs, who would be buying their produce, so they know where to sell. If they are left on this free market economy,
the parallel structure,
the parallel structure, so they fear that in the years of glut production, in the years of
better production,
the price would automatically go down, and they would not be able to then sell it at the desired price, or at least at the cost of production.
So you are telling three things. One, there would be a parallel purchase market. Second, the companies would have whenever they want, and they can store it for time which is
for unlimited
time, and the
depending on their refrigeration capacity.
So that is comparable.
And the third is contract farming.
Contract farming. That is when British India bought commodity from here and transported to London, and the worst famine came to Bengal, and we remember and we read it in history. Do you think that the Gora Saab East India Company has left and the Brown Saab's company are now taking over?
Well, I think this capitalism is, of course, now the new norm, and it's almost everywhere. But then the governments of India are, to say, looking at our own domestic system, government of Pakistan, they have kept the traditional systems intact as well. So while capitalism is very much there, for example, in case of Pakistan, in urban areas, we see all the big cash and carries and all big companies dealing in food businesses. But it doesn't mean that a small vendor or someone who is selling the fruits and vegetable on his bicycle or on his hand push cart would be eliminated from the system. So there is very much mutual coexistence.
There is some balance. So, yeah, mutual existence. Do you think it would be already from 40% to the production in India, the contribution to the GDP of the agriculture has come down to the 15, and we see mass suicides, thousands of farmers because of the loans they cannot pay back. Land holding is already small, 12.5 acres or 25 acres maximum on some spot. Do you think that would be a great injustice to the rural India at the hand of the modernizing and urban
to some extent it's true. You see, there are two ways of looking at it. One school of thought says that India has way too much farmers than it requires.
Okay.
The second school of thought says that unfortunately the semi-skilled or unskilled or semi-literate or those who never went to any school or college, they have nothing else to do but to find some sort of engagement in agriculture sector. So that's why there are too many farmers. Right. Now, if you try to atomize it, and if you try to give this technological push in it and bring this modern capital private sector there, it would perhaps in the long run would boost the sector, but in the medium to short run, there would be massive unemployment.
But the ownership would go somewhere else.
That's why I'm saying there would be massive unemployment, and a country like India, of course, cannot afford that sort of massive unemployment.
All right, and we'll compare it with Pakistan as well, because there's a border line, but across the border, I mean, the practices left by the colonial India are very similar in Pakistan. One question before we go to the break and discuss situation to compare it with Pakistan. Do you think the narrative that is being built because of these protests and what is going on, and people are taking name of the big company like Reliance and all those companies, they are preempting the situation and all that, and they are hand in glove with the government, and even the Supreme Court is favoring the companies and the government on that. Do you think the narrative is a bad news for the corporate forming in India?
To some extent, for example,
that will delay it.
The franchises and stores of Reliance and many other Indian giants, In Punjab, Haryana, UP, they are closed since October. So for the safety and security of their employees and their establishments, they have locked down
All right.
their premises. They are not in business anymore. The major challenge that the system is facing right now, of course, we need to test and trial any new system before abandoning or before abolishing an old system. And I think
They are doing it.
the manner in which BJP government, they tried to actually bully the parliament, and they get those three bills passed while opposition had boycotted the session without consulting. That has created a mess. And the second important thing is that in Punjab, which is of course the origin of these protests, and then other states they also joined. Punjab is
Former Punjab, Haryana.
yeah. So Punjab is being ruled by Congress,
Yes.
not by BJP.
Yeah, you're right.
So of course, when you have a state whose government is
Is opposition.
in opposition to the union government or the central government, so they would also have some sort of interest in
Creating this.
in creating
Right.
this trouble. And the second important thing, that even the BJP-led states, they have also farmers from there also joined the protest, because all the states,
So it's bipartisan.
yeah, all the states, they actually earn money from agriculture price market committees. So all the rice and sugar and wheat, etc., which is sold in those markets, the state government, they charge their commission, and it's a massive commission, around 6 to 7% commission that they charge. Similarly, the commission agents or artis, they have their again their own interest, because they charge their commission, and they are the movers and shakers within their districts.
In the commodity.
So not only in the commodities but also politically. Because of land reforms, Indian farmers, of course, they are small farmers, so it is the commission agents
who have massively gain out of it.
who will gain out of it, and they have their political say. So these reforms, they are not only hitting the farmers' interest, they are also hitting
The political structure.
the political structure, and they are also hitting the socio-political structure, the artis. So if you oppose, create an opposition and create a front against all the stakeholders, then we would see the results as we can see in India happening today.
Just on a historic note, my grandmother would call them saukar. She said before partition, every arti would be a saukar and Hindu, and
they used to lend money.
They used to lend money. So here we take a break. After the break, we'll compare the situation across the border to Pakistan, especially to the future, because CPIC Phase 2 has one component, which is agriculture, and that is corporate farming. Stay with us. Welcome back. How would you compare it with Pakistan? Just across, because Punjab plains are same water, same people, same all. There's no, and the heritage left by the colonial era is.
Well, Tahir, I think agriculture in India was way too protected than it is in Pakistan.
All right.
So without comparing which is best system or which is bad system, so the Indian farmers, for example, the amount of subsidy on electricity or on water that they were receiving, on amount of subsidy that they were receiving on input, or the minimum support price for the two major crops, both for rice and for wheat. So all of these things, and then a short system of minimum support price and a very organized system of agriculture price marketing committees. So all of these things, they have given them added security and added protection. In case of Pakistan, unfortunately, our farmers, they were never given that sort of protection or subsidy or that sort of organized system by our respective governments, and that has created a major difference. So, for example, even if some of the type of move which is now being seen in the reform move or legislative move, which was introduced by India, if that is introduced by Pakistan, I can see some sort of problem occurring, but not to that extent, because
not at that scale.
yeah, because our farmers, they were already handling the free market commodity operation. So we keep on reading the news whereby farmers, they are bringing their potatoes and their onions and they're throwing it on Mall Road in Lahore because they don't find the buyers who will buy them at the cost of production in better cropping seasons. So our farmers, they are already dealing with this type of thing.
And every big farmer in Pakistan is a big industrialist.
Is a big, already is a big is a big industries too. The second thing which is important to note, that in India, converting agriculture land into non-farming land is a massive challenge for the farmers, because the state has protected. You see, they have to feed 1.45 billion people, and you can have very small food baskets for India. This Haryana and Punjab and UP and a couple of other states in south of India. So in India, converting agricultural land into non-agriculture purposes is virtually very difficult.
Is a threat as well.
Is a threat, but it's legally very difficult. In case of Pakistan, we already have been converting all of our fertile lands either into housing societies or into farmhouses or into shopping plazas or big malls or factories, etc. So again, on that respect, or on that front, our farmers, they gel in well with industry and private sector, which of course in the long run would be a threat to our
how do you
food
see,
insecurity.
quickly because we're running out, how do you see corporate farming coming to Pakistan? And I would say, just to qualify it, Pakistan after 60 years is building 2 big dams out of taxpayer money, and that water, surplus water, will bring new land in Balochistan, virgin land I would say, in Nasirabad and Jalmakhsi. And somebody was, I have not seen the papers, but a scientist, agriculture scientist was telling me the new Canal Command land would be at least 1/3 of the Canal Command land already has in. So it's huge. So the corporate farming, which is likely to come in Pakistan, must be eyeing that investment of our taxpayer money. How do you see that?
Well, that would depend upon the details of corporate farming, what sort of package comes with it. For example, if Chinese investors or any other investor, if they try to make use of our abandoned or barren lands, for example,
it's virgin land. It's not barren.
But the land which is
now at the moment it is not being used for agriculture.
If it's not being used by agriculture, that would be perhaps a positive sign for Pakistani agriculture, because at least those areas, those would be now utilized for food production. Even if it is for exports, those would be used for food exports. But right now they are either deserts or they are lying barren, lying vacant. The second important thing that comes with it is what sort of public-private partnership are we foreseeing in this corporate farming? What would be the arrangement?
Do you think it should be regulated as well? Very massively regulated.
There must be at least some sort of regulation. So that
some sort of, or massively regulated?
No, some sort of regulation. If you try to do massive regulation, the investors, they will not come. Why would they come if they would be under massive?
Because of the land. Because the land is land and sweet water is not available elsewhere.
But I still feel that a massive regulation
would discourage it.
Would discourage it. It would somehow discourage, contradict the purpose for which corporate agriculture is being introduced. The purpose here is to get attached to and to get a part of agriculture value chain and supply chain system of China and other countries.
Right.
India is already part of it.
Yes.
In India, you have Walmart. In Pakistan, you don't have such big food giants. So the purpose is to be part of those agriculture value chains.
Right. I think we need to do more programs on that. In one program, there are so many peripheries and I mean the branch issues and the areas that we cannot cover it in one. And secondly, I think we'll do more programming. But up till now, I think we have run out of the time. And for now, we take permission to leave you. Thank you very much. Keep watching TD Digital, and I am your host, Tahir Dhindsa.